4 Prime Archetypes, Why We Do What We Do, written by Aaron Huey and Martina Kodrin. Now available on Amazon and Kindle and coming soon to audiobook.
Okay, so we already talked about the relationship dynamics between the wizards and the jesters, how the wizards are attracted to jesters. And I thought we could discuss what about, for example, the relationships dynamics between the bard and the wizard. I can imagine that those kinds of relationships are very, very energetic or passionate, for lack of a better word. So how would you describe a typical relationship between the two?
Yeah, the bard and the wizard, the warrior and the wizard, the warrior and the bard, all those different ones. And we're because we talked about the jester and the other relationship, we'll hold the jester aside for a minute, like we usually do when we have talks, because they're always that outlier of that of the archetypes. They're the special sauce, one of the archetypes. One of the things to always remember when you are looking at your own relationship dynamic with your children, but for the sake of this conversation, your children, your siblings, your parents, when we're talking about romantic relationships, the relationships we choose, we need to agree on a concept that's kind of a basic psychology concept, which is the relationship we're in is very, very often primarily designed to help us reconcile past relationships of primary caregivers. This is why we marry our mothers or marry our fathers. This is why we date people and we're like, you're just like my ex dad, brother, fill in the blank, is because there's something there. Yeah, there's something there that we are trying to reconcile, to fix, to overcome. And so let's keep that in mind as we're talking about, and let's start with what you had talked about, that bard and that wizard. And we'll go into the bard and the warrior in a minute. But and I think we talked about in the last video too about jester-wizard relationships as wizard-wizard relationships. Wizard-wizard relationships are actually quite successful because you have two people who are really good being in their own space and get really intelligent with each other. They have great intimacy at times, or they're both playing video games for months at a time. And of course, the whole area in between. But, they love going to conventions together and researching stuff together and finding stuff out. And they actually get into this intellectual competition, these wizard-wizard relationships. I have not seen many wizard-bard relationships. And when they tend to happen, the bard, what I've seen, and remember, all of these are generalizations, and we have to remember that. These are generalizations. But the bard is the active principle, while the wizard is the passive principle in the wizard-bard relationship. The wizard.
So what does that mean?
Well, it means it's the bard that's making things happen. It's the bard that's getting them out. It's the bard that is, getting them to parties and dragging them around and is the social butterfly, while the wizard has fun, is a wonderful companion when they are out there, but then they need that downtime. And they do not handle the constant talk vent. Right? Both of those, the vetting and the venting that a bard must do verbally. They must, the bard vent processes. And we talk about this in the book.
Yeah.
To process something, they have to talk about it. And they have to have the highs and lows and the Armageddon Nirvana conversations of, this thing is everything or nothing. I'm watching my daughter and her husband. And my daughter has largely been a bard her whole life. Very empathetic, a brilliant artist, wonderfully creative, degree in marketing and her husband is an absolute wizard. And I love him to death. He's an absolute wizard. And they go to parties. And there's one thing I've noticed with my son, who's a wizard, and my son-in-law, who's a wizard, is that they're really good at gift giving. Now, this is a counter to one of the things we talked about in the book, is that wizards can struggle with gift giving. But once they understand and get to know the person they're with, they're like these researching scientists who have discovered a golden formula on how to give a gift, on how to make a special night. Bards do that all the time. Every date, every single time. There was an old commercial I remember many years ago about a Valentine's Day commercial. And this woman is standing in this store, and there's like a whole aisle of Valentine's Day cards, and she's reading one and she laughs, and she's reading another one and she's like, oh, she reads another one, she starts to cry. And, obviously she is spending time to find that perfect card. And when she finds it, she holds it to her heart and she puts it in her cart and she goes on with her shopping. Then it shows a dude buying a 6-pack of beer, and he's like looking at the counter, and he looks to the side and he notices some Valentine's cards, and he picks one and he throws it on the counter. And that is very much the warrior version, because the wizard version is going to take the time if the relationship has become his purpose, his study, his research project. And I keep saying his because I often find when the wizard-bard relationship is happening, the bard is occupying the feminine aspect, and the wizard is occupying the masculine aspect. And remember, the wizard has a very good balance of the masculine, feminine energies, while the bard is a primary, almost complete feminine energy.
We should probably at this point reiterate again that, we're talking about energies, not gender, not sex. I'm a total wizard. I'm a very strong wizard. That means, energies, not the
energies, not gender. I'm very much a warrior bard, and I'm extremely feminine in my creativity and my feelings and my empathy. And as always, the energies of these relationships, becoming conscious about them, to look at this emotionally intelligent person and the thought-provoked, brain intelligent person, the wisdom intelligent person. And right there, that's the key. Is that when the wizard moves from intellect to wisdom, that's a different type of intellect. Being smart is one thing. Being wise, leveraging that intelligence, recognizing that how you study whatever you're interested in right now, a time-space dynamic, if you could apply that same concept to your relationship, you will master it. If you apply that same concept to emotional intelligence, you will master it. Because as a wizard, mastery is your destiny. Whereas a bard, connection, communication, creativity. So for the bards out there who are in relationships with wizard, here are the keys. They're smarter than you. They're not wiser than you. They're not more empathetic than you, and they are not emotionally smarter than you. But they are smarter than you. So accept it. Sit into that, sink in that, and be okay with it, and learn how to leverage your partner's intelligence. Ask them to teach you. It's the best thing you can do. Understand, bards. Your wizard partner is going to struggle with understanding your emotions. Not understanding the concept of your emotions, understanding why you feel the way you feel, what that feeling feels like, how something that looks to the wizard so small can be so huge for you. Because remember, the bards are the Armageddon Nirvana. And the wizards, while they have an Armageddon Nirvana intellect at the first, the wizard's goal is to find that gray area brilliance, right? Remember, in the picture in the book of the wizard, that tiled floor is black and white. And the color of emotions in the bard picture there's every color. There is every shape, every size, every hairdo, it's all there. not just one or the other. Well, are you happy or are you sad? A bard can be both, wizards. And so bards, when you are happy and sad, you have to figure out a way to talk to your wizard. Now, bards, this is your gift. You can talk to any audience. So if you're struggling to communicate to your wizard, well, he just doesn't understand. Well, she just doesn't understand. Bards, you can make anyone understand anything. You see, this is where we reveal the lazy bard, the laziness of the bard, when I can't reach him. I can't reach her. Yes, you can. I think Tony Robbins said this. If you say, I love you to someone and they didn't hear you, what do you do? Well, you say it again louder. And if they still don't hear you, what do you do? Well, you say it again. You touch their shoulder. You look them in the eye. You make sure they hear it. At what point in a relationship do we go, forget it. I'm just not going to say it anymore. Right? These are the bard things you've got to understand. If you can communicate with any audience, that means any audience. It means your partner. So find their language, learn how to speak it. That's your gift, bards. When you're a wizard and you are dealing with a bard, figure out how to understand. See, we got to use the right words, right? Figure out how to understand
Yeah.
that this person thinks differently than you do. And your way of thinking is not the best. It's not the right way. It's not the logical way. It's just the wizard way. Because emotions are logical to a bard. And feeling that entire range, experiencing and expressing the entirety of the range is part of the bard communication. I'll go back to my daughter and her husband, as they've had many opportunities come up in their life for work and moving and stuff like that. And we're watching and feeling and experiencing my daughter's excitement go up and down and over here and over there, and an hour and a half on the phone talking about every possible experience that one or all of these moves could create in her life. You have to stop, wizards, when you're dealing with the bard. Stop listening to the story and learn how to listen to the storyteller. Wizards, learn how to connect to your bard's heart and not just try to intellectually process the script. Wizards, stop chasing the statements to try to prove them true or false, and learn how to find the underlying golden thread, the dynamic social message that is being passed through the bard to you. And that's very hard, because the bard says outrageous, outlandish, Armageddon, Nirvana type stuff. Oh my God, I don't know if I could be in this relationship for one more second. And that's just an expression. That's just a vent. That's just a feeling that is coming out, because the bards don't hold it in. The wizards hold it in and try to go, do I really feel that? Do I really think that? What is feeling? What is thinking? What does that actually mean? The bard just says it. And then they go, did that feel right? And if not, they just move on to the next line in the script. But wizards hear something like that and they're like, oh, what are you saying? This relationship is over? What? That doesn't make sense. And the bard's like, that's not what I mean. Well, that's what you said. And there's a difference between what a bard means and what a bard says.
Oh God, not me feeling called out right now.
And me, because as the bard, when I get up on stage, the story starts to emerge and it has so much color. And my brother-in-law said to my wife one time, he goes, how does Aaron just get up on stage and start talking? Does he even pay attention to what comes out of his mouth? And my wife is like, I don't know. My brother-in-law is a brilliant wizard. My wife is a brilliant wizard warrior. My wife will say warrior wizard. She's a wizard warrior. Shh, don't tell my wife I said that.
Okay. Yeah. She was just being nice, saying, I don't know.
Yeah, because
I'm
you're
pretty sure
right.
you're just channeling everything. So
Yeah, because my wife has decided, hasn't she? The wizard has decided. They've made the black and white decision. And the
yeah.
bard comes in and tries to paint over it with color and sound and light and makeup and costume and script and story and flair. And the wizard's like, this doesn't make sense. I already said, let me give you, here's something that a wizard says to a bard. Didn't we already talk about this? I thought we already discussed this. I thought we worked this out.
Yeah. And it's a source of frustration because for me as a wizard, when I think and overthink about something, it's done. I
Yeah.
set it aside and then it's done. So when a bard, for example, wants to discuss it again because that's the bard's way,
Yes.
to me it's just like, again, I don't want to overthink this again. I've already overthought this. Like, it's done. Moving on.
Isn't that, and we do, again, we talk about this in the book. The wizard's job is to begin, have a middle, and an end. And when it's done,
Exactly.
it's done. You
Completion.
finish it, you've
Yeah.
solved the math problem. That's the answer. Put it in a box, put the box with the other boxes, label the box, put it on the shelf, close the closet door. And the bard opens it and pulls it out and goes, remember when we talked about this? And they're like, I got other things on my mind. Why are we going through this again? Because the bard is never done talking about something that made them feel something and connecting to you through that feeling experience. That's complication versus complexity. The complexity is this never-ending infinity loop of emotions. You feel good, you talk about it, you don't like the way it ended, so you feel bad. So you talk about it and you resolve it so you feel good, and then it changes and you feel confused. And the wizard's like, we talked about it. We felt good. I put it away then. It's over. It's done. The bard will always get the wizard. I don't feel that way anymore.
For now.
Wizard, that's a tough one for a wizard. What do you mean anymore? Do you mean the situation's changed? Do you mean you've changed? Because the resolution that we created solved a problem. Why would you change the problem? Why would you change the solution? The answer was 7. How come you're making an 8 now? That's the logic and, let's be clear, the brilliance of a wizard to say, we solved it. Why can't we go back to the solution? Because the solution doesn't matter. I've changed. The situation's changed. The lighting has changed. My costume changed. I have a tag in my shirt that's annoying me. And so now I'm annoyed at you, right? The bard is feeling everything and everyone. And so wizard, when you go disappearing into your laboratory and the bard cannot feel you, listen closely, wizard, the bard will come and try to get your energy in any way, shape, or form. This means a fight. This means sex. This means an argument. This means a date. This means watching your favorite show and cooking your favorite meal and wanting to sit next to you on the couch when the wizard could be watching their favorite show, eating their favorite food, and someone cuddles up next to them and they're like, do you have to sit? I'm watching. It's like, we can do 2 things. And the wizard's like, no, we can't. I'm doing some, and all the bard wants to do is connect. And it's tough on the wizard. And it doesn't matter whether it's through lots of sex or lots of argument or lots of dates or lots of hand holding or lots of anything. At some point, the wizard goes, I need space. And space to the bard feels like a break in connection, communication, and creativity. And that's the navigation point, is creating the boundaries that work for both. Boundaries, all healthy relationships require boundaries. Boundaries create healthy relationships, but wizards, boundaries are 2 ways. Sometimes boundaries are their heart needs to connect, and you're the one they chose. Step out of your little laboratory and emerge into the world, take a shower, put on your cologne, put on that shirt they like, and be with them and stop thinking about other things, because they know, a bard knows when you're like distracted because the bard's talking to you on the phone and they hear this in the background. Uh-huh. Okay. Yeah. And that's not connection. That is not a conversation. That's you doing one thing at a time, and you are not with the bard. Now, bards, your side of this is you got to learn how to leave the wizards alone. Like, you cannot have them 24/7, because a big part of their process of mastery is going into their laboratory and doing their work. I don't care if you think they're just playing video games. I don't care if you think that. That's their work. Leave them alone. Give them the space as long as they emerge for you. Wizard-bard relationships are hard.
So I guess we're back to, consciously balancing. If me as a wizard, my natural way would be to ghost, to, step aside, to just, take a step back, then I have to consciously go, okay, so this is relationship that's important to me. So I should probably consciously at least, set a date, set a time, and say, look, I'm working on this now, but in a couple of hours or tomorrow or whatever, I'm gonna be working on us, on you, And in the same way, the bard has to consciously go over there, I need this connection now, and take a step back and go, okay, I need this connection, but maybe not just exactly right now if we cannot do this right now.
Right. Yeah. And bards, you leave them alone. Stop interrupting their work, because when you interrupt them from that focus,
that's the worst.
Oh, it's terrible, because wizards will go into deep, almost meditative focus on an intellectual path. And bards want to they want to connect. They come in, doesn't matter how you want to connect. It doesn't matter if you think they are going to respond to it because it's something they like. Sex, food, their favorite director has just released a new movie. None of that matters. You are interrupting a journey. And until that journey is finished.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, we might not even emote. We might not even say, oh my God, stop interrupting me. I told you this several times. We might just go along with what you want, but the resentment's going to build.
That's right.
So
it gets, because remember,
inside.
Yes. Because the wizard is external to internal, right? It's others to self. So the bard comes in for a connection interruption, and the wizard indulges, but they're ghosting inward.
Yeah.
They're inside their mind. Their brain is like, I gotta focus on that. No, this is great. This is great. Hon, no, this will, yeah. But inside they're that black and white.
Especially if the bard is expecting the same type of reaction that they would give, right?
Yes.
They give the emotional reaction. So they think if the wizard didn't give an emotional reaction, then it must be okay. And that's where the divide starts to happen.
Right. And the other side of that coin is when a bard has an emotion and you're trying to intellectualize it. You're trying to get this bard to quantify or qualify how they feel. It doesn't make sense. What you're feeling doesn't make sense. You're wrong, wizards. You are wrong about emotions. The bard is feeling something. Is it logical? Doesn't matter. Does it fit here? Doesn't matter. I thought it was this before and now it's this. It does not matter. And you're trying to make it matter so that you understand it. And that's not honoring them. That's not loving them. The moment you're like, you need to explain to me why. What are you so angry about? You have to learn how to sit in the anger and be with their heart, not just listen to their words and argue every damn thing they say, and to give them feedback and to solve their problems. That's not what they want. Wizards, you have to learn how to ask, do you want solutions or support? That's what you have to learn how to ask your bard lovers.
That's good.
Do you want solutions or do you want support? Because I have 1,000 solutions. I've lived. Bards don't want solutions. They just want, sometimes, not even support. Sometimes they just want to be seen. They just
an
need
audience.
an audience to process this information. They don't need you other than to give them a standing ovation and then you can go back to your alone time. But while you're there, rapt attention is what is required. Stop thinking, stop listening to what they're saying and evaluating whether it's right or wrong or true or false. That's not listening. You've already ghosted the moment you get them or ask them or demand that they quantify or qualify because what they said hurt your feelings. So the bard-wizard relationship has some very key dynamic differences that really we're talking about unconscious ego wounding if you don't step into this space fully. Bards, leave the freaking wizards alone when they're in the zone. Wizards, stop thinking that the bard's feeling is wrong. It's not. And you're wrong for thinking that. That's
True.
Those aren't fun, but I've just solved all your marital problems. And sex between a bard and a wizard it's pretty good. It's not the most passionate, fiery ones. We'll talk about that one in the next video.
Yeah, let's do that because we kind of started with one topic, but then I guess today was the day to discuss the wizard and the bard.
Yes.
But anyway, if you have any questions, let us know down below. The book, The 4 Prime Archetypes, is already available on Amazon, and we look forward to hearing from you.